Welcome to Oh Brother News. I'm Gabe,
I'm James.
and
We
we're
have no
brothers.
music. And we have no
We have,
music.
well, no, see, I get to just put the music in post now, so.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Uh-huh.
I guess there's going to be music.
There will be music.
All right. New
Oh
format.
man, it's a week. Okay. This week we're talking about probably not all these things. It's going to be a short one, but there was Amazon deciding to show tariffs and then changing their mind after Trump called Bezos, apparently. There is a Ukraine minerals deal that's been signed. There are more innocent people from the US sent to CSAT. We'll get into the details of some of those people. There is Billy Long, Trump's pick to be the IRS director, who mysteriously had his debt paid off right after he got nominated. So weird. Wonder, can't imagine why.
I like Kavanaugh.
Yeah, just like Kavanaugh. There's the crackdown on free speech. Kind of can detail all of several of the many things that the Trump administration has done to attack free speech. And then we have a bit of an update on how empty the store shelves will be, the continuing impacts of tariffs, and we'll look at the vesseltracker.com, where you can see the port details for the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Shanghai. And oh yeah, and then there's, well, on the topic of yeah, okay, sure. All right, where do you want to start, man?
Well, you can start with talk about Amazon.
Yeah, so like so this was like the first story I put on the list this week, and it was it lasted about a day. So Amazon was going to show the portion of the price when you buy something that is, resulting from the tariffs. And the Trump administration was immediately throwing a huge fit about it. And they're like, this is a political hostile attack and blah, blah, blah. Oh, Amazon. And the next day, I guess, I don't know exactly if it was a call between him and Bezos, but the next day, Amazon was like, nah, we're definitely not going to do that. No need to ruffle your feathers, Mr. President. It's all gravy. And they decided not to.
Although, from what they said, if they're telling the truth, it wasn't even like they were planning on doing that on Amazon's main website anyway. It was it was the actual story that somehow got leaked to the president and to Caroline Leavitt and them was that one of their like wholesale places or people that order stuff for Amazon, they were going to detail it. And the way the telephone game works is, hey, they're going to start listing tariffs on Amazon. And then they just went fucking ballistic and preemptively tried to shut that shit down. It wasn't even going to be on Amazon's main website. The original talks, it wasn't even going to be on main Amazon. It was talking about the wholesalers and people who do things, who buy stuff through there. They're going to be the ones where they're going to list out the tariff price, which makes a lot more sense for wholesalers. So,
sure,
but I mean, other sites are doing it anyway. Other sites are doing it, like all the Temu and Shine, all the Chinese places. They're all listing those tariff prices on their sites.
Oh yeah, Fabletics is doing it too. Like a bunch of them have it. And
yeah,
I think, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but Microsoft announced that the Xbox price is going up. Like it's like $100 to $200 price increase for the 5-year-old consoles.
Wow.
And the games, like, which, not too long ago went from $60 to $70 for like new, big deal games, switched to from 70 to 80. So yeah, hits are coming. And so like, continuing with the tariffs theme, so like if you look at the ports, it really tells the story. And like the result of this is that places are not ordering, they're canceling their orders for fireworks. So there's not going to be 4th of July fireworks. You might not even be able to go buy fireworks because there just will be less fireworks because they're so expensive. And there will be fewer toys for children at Christmas because like 95% of them are made in China.
And it's like 80% of all toys, but 90% of all things that Americans buy for Christmas come from China. That's how much. That's like how much it was. So don't worry, Donald Trump. Yeah, you can say the quote if you want to, or I can say it. But Donald Trump wanted to reassure Americans that the shelves won't be empty. There will be stuff on the shelves. It might cost a few bucks more, like he's talking about dolls.
Yeah, your kid will just get $2 instead of 30, and it might cost a couple more bucks.
Yeah,
but
there won't be empty shelves.
But it won't be empty.
God, people.
Oh man.
Yeah, they were calling.
I can't wait. I can't wait for like the. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not fixable. Like, it's going to happen. Like, we're just waiting to watch it happen, because you have to put in the orders months in advance so that they have time to make it, so they have time to ship it, so that it can be in the warehouse, so they can pull it out of the warehouse and put it on the shelf in time for Christmas. Then everyone wants to buy it in like the month before, like starting on Black Friday. Like, it's gonna be like Chill Friday this year after Thanksgiving. You just stay home and rest. Just sleep off the turkey, I guess. No need to fight your way into the stores, because it's not going to be anything.
Yep. And in the first quarter of this year, just a reminder to everybody too, because it's on the same subject, the economy shrank at 0.3% from January through March, which was the first time the economy actually went negative and dropped in 3 years. As a direct result, 100% direct result of the trade war stuff, and the tariffs and everything else. The drop in GDP, it reversed a gain. Like, the last quarter was a 2.4% gain. Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, it went just way down. Consumer spending is down, and here, like a recession, they always talk about recessions. So like, well, it's not exactly defined. It just means consecutive months of the economy shrinking, receding.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, everybody said 2 quarters. If you get 2 quarters of negative growth, that is what everybody's basically come and say, that is a recession. But
yeah, well, that's the definition. Technically, that's the technical definition. It's two consecutive quarters of decline in growth.
And so we're halfway there.
GDP.
Halfway there. Thank you, making America great again. There you go. So, all right. So yeah, that's in Amazon. Everybody's raising prices. Yeah, tariffs. Shelves going to be empty. Whatever.
But this whole idea of like making America great again is like, it's really absurd. So like, the time that they're thinking of is from like 1940 to 1960, and there were a lot of things. Like, there were a lot of headwinds specifically, and there was like a lot of downsides. So like, some of the things that were in our favor was like, Europe was destroyed, Japan was destroyed. Those were the other manufacturing centers, like Cambodia, Vietnam, India, China. These were not manufacturing centers yet. Okay, so like a third of the world was just like not even competing in any sort of manufacturing. Okay, and half of the rest of the world was destroyed. So they were busy like trying to not starve and like rebuild houses and buildings and demine and put away the tanks and etc. So they had no manufacturing anyway, and the United States took no damage. We ramped up this huge manufacturing base to like produce tanks and planes and bullets and bombs for the war. Like, when World War II started, there were like 2,000 planes in America. Like 2,000 planes in all of America. 2,000. And by the end, there was like 1.5 million. So like, we went nuts, right? And we were building ships, and then all these guys came home, and everybody wanted to buy a house and get a washing machine and buy a car and go to work in a factory, and like everybody came back and was like, had money to spend and babies to make. It's like, it's that like 20 to 40 is like the sweet spot for consumers, because they're young, so they're more impulsive. They're more likely to buy things to show off, to signal to mates that they're prosperous. They're more likely to be trying things. They're establishing themselves, like they haven't bought a couch yet. So all those things combined, and we had 20 years where we had a monopoly on manufacturing. So that was like the headwinds, right? Massive headwinds that are completely not reproducible. Then you still have the downsides of like factory work being really dangerous and not paying really well. I guess the difference then was that being a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a stockbroker or the head of a bank, it paid you more, but not so much more. Like, yeah, the doctor drives a Lincoln, but you're still driving a new Chevy. So like, it's not that different. You both eat at the same restaurant. You both send your kids to the same school. You both buy your clothes at the same department store. So like the feeling of being in that like bottom to middle portion of the economy was really similar. That's the thing that people miss. People miss when the difference between the top and the middle was, really close. And like there's a lot of reasons why we can't do all the same stuff. So like a lot of our like Apple's talked about, there's like a Steve Jobs talk where he talks about why Apple uses China for manufacturing. And it's not just because they're cheap. They definitely are cheap, but they're also really, really good at it. Like they're practiced. They've been doing all of these really technical machining, all this technical stuff for paper. They've got the supply lines for all the different materials. They're really good at following instructions and building stuff in a way that we in America are not. And even if we brought that that manufacturing back, it's not going to be jobs. It's not going to be good jobs because, right now we're already seeing, take something like board games, right? We're like all the board games are made in China. There are no factories in the United States. If you're like a board game manufacturer and you made up a new board game and you want to get it made in America, you can't. You literally can't because there's no factory to do it, right? You have to get it made in China. So like, like it's a whole set of skills that we don't have, and the cost of that board game, even when it comes from China, is still like $50 to $100. They're not super cheap, And if you bring them over here, then you're gonna have to redo the whole supply line. You're gonna have to, get all of the inks and the papers, and then you have to build a factory that's gonna bring all that in. Then you have to train up a whole bunch of people to do that. Like, and those jobs are like, say you do that, okay, and you pay people a decent wage. Like maybe you're only paying them like $20, $30 an hour. Well, in Japan they're paying them $5 a day. So like, there's no way you're selling that board game for $50 to $100. You're just 4 or 5 times the price, or you just don't make it, or you have to start taking safer bets because only the things that you can sell at scale are worth the time to build.
Surprisingly, too, as well, looking about the stuff in China, they use a lot more automation than you would ever think.
I mean, all the manufacturing is done with automation.
Yeah, but they also have tons and tons of people, but they have a lot more automation than you'd even think. That's why you talk about how good they are. Yes, they do have tons and tons and tons of people making dirt, money. But they also, in addition to that, that's how they crank out so much stuff. You know what I mean? It would cost a fortune to build new plants here. It would cost a fortune, I mean,
this is like the whole point of like
we don't want to do it.
Of a global economy is like is that we're good at one thing. Like we don't want to be in chemical plants, mixing together this harmful chemical and that harmful chemical. We don't want to be, building cell phone screens and like wearing a hazmat suit for like 12 hours a day. Like we don't want to be sitting there screwing screws in by hand and like assembling motherboards. Like we don't want to do that, and we certainly don't want to do it for like McDonald's money. And that's the bargain. So even if it comes here, it's not going to be like people are going to have jobs. It's just going to be automation. It's going to be more money that goes just to the top. But what's going to happen, and what is happening, is it's not going here. It's going to India. Like Apple's not moving from China to America because that would be ridiculous. No one's paying $5,000 for a fucking iPhone every year. they're going to India, and it's still going to be a little bit more expensive, but not orders of magnitude more expensive. So like, great job, Donald. Like you kick China in the balls and ruin Christmas so that India could have more manufacturing, I guess. Like, good deal for India, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to really add on that. I'm really, the economy stuff is the economy stuff. The shipping, the ports emptying out, the economy going bad, the tariffing everything, and no point to it because we're not even doing it in a way to bring jobs here is one thing. But I don't have a whole lot to add on that right now. I'm more just pissed off about all the deportation shit.
All right, we'll get into the deportation shit.
Yeah, because like I said, man, and like, well, everybody in this country is, I don't care how much you're checked out of politics, everybody's aware that this government is doing their damnedest to say that everybody's a gang member, everybody's a terrorist, everybody's TDA or MS-13, man. It doesn't matter if there's only 10,000 TDA people in the world.
Caroline Levitt's a gang member.
Yeah, no,
I saw a picture of all these MS-13 tattoos all over her face and her neck and her hands. Like,
yeah, it's just as it's more believable than the MS-13 in Arial font that was typed on top of the picture of the guy's hand, Abrego Garcia's. But
like he believed that too. Like he believed the Photoshop.
I know. I saw the interview.
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually believed it or if he's just gaslighting and trying to sell it. I mean, God, could he be that stupid? Yes. Is he incredibly stupid? Yes. Is he also a total liar? Yes. Will he say the biggest lies with the straightest face at the drop of a hat? Yes. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the. I mean, come on, man. He lies like for a living. It's not even just for a living. He lies to lie. He lies to whatever. Who knows if he believes it or not? It's ridiculous, but whatever. But no, I mean, there's a rash of them. And everybody's talking about Abrego Garcia. And yeah, he might not be a great guy. The wife one time went in for a domestic violence thing, then she took it back, whatever, Who gives a shit, though, man? There's so many more people. There are so many more stories of so many people who are innocent and being rounded up. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. There's... and not even immigrants, just citizens. It's just a pattern practice. They see brown skin, they see Hispanic looking person. Shit, man, it is like a black person right after this. It's like a black person in Reconstruction South. You know what I mean? They are going to be on you immediately. And like there was a court case, like in the there was a court case just the other day where the judge, put a whole bunch of restrictions on them in California. Got an injunction a bit because the judge even said it's like you can't just go rounding up people with brown skin and asking for their papers. And she went off on them and like it is a pattern in practice. You guys are going around farms.
That was Operation Return to Sender, where they were literally going around in California and like staking out Home Depots and like
farms,
picking up day laborers and like looking at I think I even know like the area because I drove. There's this really long highway if you're going from like LA up to the mountains, and it's just fields on either side of the highway going north for like 5 hours.
Yeah, but they documented, the ICE people would throw people to the ground, saying, "Oh, you Mexican bitches!" I mean, that was in the court document.
Yeah,
they would call them Mexican bitches. They do this. They'd go around. They'd start slashing people's tires. They'd start slashing their tires so they couldn't leave because they're not allowed to detain you. They're not allowed to detain you if they have nothing, but they would do it. They would slash people's tires. They'd pull guns at people. They harass them. They do all kinds of things.
They're raiding the wrong people's houses.
Yeah. Yes, there's one in Colorado. This one it big. It was already a big story. I saw it before Rachel Maddow did a big show on it. When she was showing it, KFOR did a thing on there. These they just moved to Oklahoma 2 weeks earlier from Maryland. A woman and her 2 daughters are in there, right? and they busted in the house. They broke in the house, right? Broke all the windows, came in there, guns drawn, put guns to their head, forced them up out of bed. They're all in their, like, panties and bras, 20-something guys with guns all around them, standing around there.
Nobody sleeps in a bra, but yeah.
What's that?
Nobody sleeps in a bra, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. Some people do, but whatever.
No one sleeps in a bra.
No adult woman probably does, but there's.
They're wearing t-shirts.
Some do,
but I get it. They're not dressed.
Yeah, they weren't dressed, and
it's the middle of the night. They're not dressed. They're outside.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of strange men. They're pointing guns in their face. Yeah, it's horrible.
And then they go make them go outside, and they just kept calling them names and saying stupid shit. Wouldn't answer any questions like that. Made him go outside in the rain. Made him lay in the grass. Holding a gun to them. While they went through the house. And they proceeded to just destroy their fucking house, man. Dude, the cameras went through there. They destroyed everything. It looked like a burglary, man. They're just taking stuff out and just dumping it, ripping shit up, dumping it. They took all their phones. They took all their laptops, their computer. They took all their stuff like that. They took all their money because they
took all their money.
Took all their money. Took their checkbook. Took everything she had. That all their access to any financials, all their electronics, everything. And then left, and then they eventually said, "Oh, because they."
And you can't sue them.
Well,
you can't sue them. So there's a different version of this that's before the Supreme Court now, actually.
Yeah, that says that they.
That wasn't an immigration. That was just like SWAT went to the wrong house and blew the door in with a grenade.
Here's the problem in this one.
Also in the middle of the night.
But the problem in this one is, who would you even sue? Because when they went there, they said it was the FBI, ICE, and Department of Homeland Security. That's how they said.
The United States government. You'd sue the United States government.
That's who said that was there, right? Well, we'll get into that in a second because that's how they're still doing the illegal deportation flights to El Salvador right now. But anyway, it says FBI, ICE, and DHS. Now, FBI said, "Oh, we assisted, in the investigation," but then they denied that they had any agents there. Nope, none of our agents were there. We did not take part in that place. DHS, they are not saying anything. ICE isn't saying anything. Nobody's telling them anybody. Nobody in the government is owning up to be the responsible party that even took part in that raid. And nobody in the government will say where their belongings are, when they would ever be able to get them back, where their belongings went. Who took them? Did they just steal them?
Here's the thing, why would you? Okay, say you are there. Okay, you're there looking for, the woman. You're looking for a woman and 2 children that you believe to be undocumented, or not even undocumented, but you believe to have an immigration status that has been revoked. They got the email that said it's time for you to leave the United States, and they have decided not to leave and to stay and to try to hide. And you know that they're in this house. You got a tip off. You saw them at Walmart and you followed them home, and then you told all the cops at the station. Okay, whatever your bullshit thing is. Okay, even let's say you have a warrant, you did the whole thing. Okay, you come in, you find that there's 3 people in there. You take the 3 people out. Why the fuck do you destroy the house? Why the fuck do you take cash? Why do you take laptops and cell phones? You're not there looking for fucking Bin Laden. You're not trying to you're not taking down the head of a terrorist organization, so you need all the files they might have. You're there for bodies that you're trying to put on a plane and send somewhere else. So why the fuck are you taking all this shit? Why are you ruining the house anyway? For what reason?
Well, there's a few reasons. I can tell you a few reasons. One, they want to go through their cell phones to look for any kind of communications that are bad against Trump. That's why all the people are getting detained at the airport.
But they're citizens.
You come to the airport, they're looking through people's cell phones now, and they're looking through the social media, and they're looking for anything critical of the administration. If you say something critical of the administration, they detain you, they send you back, they don't let you come in. They've been doing that for 2-3 weeks now, The people in college. Oh, are they a visa? Okay, well, they're a citizen. Maybe they know somebody. Maybe they've talked to somebody who's illegal. Maybe they know somebody. Hey, we can send them all. We can get their friends. We can get their families. Maybe they send money to somebody.
They can't go through your phone.
They do. They have been. They absolutely have been. That's how they're getting these college kids, all these student visas. They're going through their social media. They're looking for anything pro-Palestinian. Boom, revoking visas. If you said anything pro-Palestinian and you are on a student visa, they all had their visas. That's why they revoked thousands of them for no reason. But luckily, another judge undid that one. Said no, you can't revoke all of their visas, because they said something pro-Palestinian or against Israel.
You heard about the
But
Columbia.
yeah, he's out. He got out.
Yeah, well, let's tell the story though. He was a Columbia student. He's been here for a decade. He went to his naturalization interview to complete the process of becoming a citizen that he's been working on for 10 years.
And that's where they nabbed him.
And they arrested him at his naturalization interview.
They're going to people. Yeah, they are doing that all the time. They're doing that all the time now. They're going to court.
The least illegal you could be. But go back. Let's go back for a second. So the people in Colorado, the woman and the two kids, are those American citizens?
They were all U.S. citizens.
And then also I think this was since last week. We deported a 7, a 2, and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Because we deported their parents, and the other kids, one of the kids has cancer. They wouldn't even let him talk to the cancer doctor or take any medication or anything.
And they have a father who is a U.S. citizen. The father, when the mother and the kids got picked up, right, immediately went to the lawyer, and they had an emergency hearing, right, to prevent the kids and their stuff from being deported, right. They flew him out of there immediately, the same day before they could have their court case. The woman never got to make a phone call. Her and her kids, they never got to make a phone call to anybody. They've talked to her since then. So they never got a phone call. She wasn't allowed to talk to her doctor, husband, lawyer, anybody. She wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. They just put them on a plane and fucking flew them out of there to Honduras.
Why would they take... I don't understand.
That's what Homan's already said. Tom Homan has already said, oh, we're not going to do family separation. If your kid's with you, you don't have to separate them. They can go with your parent. If you have an undocumented parent, we'll kick you out, the kid out with them.
Yeah, but they also have a documented parent.
Yeah, but they don't.
That's a decision for the parents.
But they are sending them out of the country before they can go through any kind of due process or investigation. That's why they're sending people out.
So this is one thing, right? But then there was the other one. I don't know the details of this case, but there was the one where, the mom went to El Salvador and the dad went to Venezuela,
and we kept the kid.
We kept the fucking kid.
The dad went to Seco. They're claiming he's MS-13. The mom they sent to El Salvador, and they kept the kid, and they're keeping. And she was told that she thought she was going to have her kid back there with her, right? And she was at least going to get deported. They had her for months in a detention cell, right? They had him, and they were expecting to get deported to their home countries or whatever like that, with mom, But no, they just kept the kid. We kept the kid in foster care. Now the kid's in foster care in America, and they're just trying the government, because, of course, there's absolutely no proof at all that either of them are gang members. But that's what this administration wants to say about every brown person they're kicking out. Oh, they're gang members. They're gang members. They can't have their kid. It wouldn't be safe to give the kid back to a gang member. So the U.S. citizen kid is now in foster care without its parents because they're claiming they're gang members. The father, nice looking guy too, man, and he's now in Seco, and she's in Honduras, and she has no idea how to get her kid back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's super fucked.
It is outrageous how much they're doing this, and they're saying everybody's a fucking gang member, man. Everybody's a gang member.
They're only going after bad hombres, James.
Yeah.
They're in the brown gang.
Yeah, the wife of a Coast Guard. There's a guy in the Coast Guard. They were moving into the base housing.
Yeah, I heard about this one too.
Now her visa.
Or you sent me the article.
Yeah, her visa expired, right? And here's one thing I wish people would talk about, because there are. First of all, people don't even get. People think a green card or visa is like a thing. People in this country have absolutely no idea how complicated it can be and how many different types of visas there are.
Statuses. Yeah, it's a fucking labyrinth.
There are fucking crazy ones. Say you're undocumented. and you're in a community, and the police are doing a big investigation of somebody. So there's somebody committing crimes, and they know you're undocumented, but you're going to assist the police in an investigation. They have a visa for that. There's a program for a visa for that because you are assisting U.S. law enforcement, in an investigation, and you can get a visa for that, right? That's one visa. There's a visa for you have a family member here, blah, 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 and they're going to sponsor you and everything else. That's another kind of visa. You could have a marriage visa. And
then there's like the status of it. So like,
and there's a million different kinds. And the different ones are like, depending on the circumstances, there's certain ones for certain countries. People in Laos and Vietnam. Oh, those people helped our soldiers. Therefore, there's another kind of visa. There's a million visas, right? So anyway, somebody's visa expiring, the visa expires. Happens all the time to so many people. Nobody would believe how many people have an expired visa. And you know what? Sometimes they just haven't renewed it yet because it's fucking expensive. It's a lot of fucking money, right?
Yeah, it's hundreds of dollars every year.
Thousands sometimes. I mean, it can be a lot, And if you so anyway, but then her visa expires. But you know what? Yes, poor, and your visa expired. And if anybody knows anything about the U.S. military, they're not exactly swimming in cash too. But she got married. Yes, visa expired, but then she gets married to a service member, right? Okay. New process, right? Because there's a different kind of visa. If you apply for one visa, let's say you apply for a work authorization, okay, not even a visa.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to apply for a work authorization. But you can't do that if you're going to apply for visa. You can only have like one kind of status at a time. So if you have a work authorization, you can't apply for your work authorization and then apply for your visa for something else because you're getting married or because of something, because you have a family member here. So a lot of times lawyers will tell people, don't file for work authorization. I know you're in a bad status right now. Don't do that. We're going to file instead for this kind of visa or this kind of visa or this program, So yeah, she got married. She's married to a guy in the Coast Guard. They're coming back to the base. They're just moving into base housing. And nope. Sorry, you're going to get detained. You're going to have to go to another country. Like that doesn't matter. No chance. You know what I mean? That's that one. Yeah. Anyway, what are you gonna say? It's pissing me off though. They're acting like everybody's criminals. They haven't gone after hardly any criminals yet. All they're doing is rounding up innocent people and fucking just saying they're criminals and just libel and fucking slander.
Because that is their position. Like Pam Bondi was saying this at the beginning. She was like,
"I'm home to you."
Like being an immigrant is the thing that is illegal.
I know.
That is the crime.
Requesting asylum in this country is now illegal.
Yes, being in America without being a citizen or being rich, that is the crime. That is the crime. That makes them criminals. They're rounding up criminals. They changed the law to like, don't be brown. Don't be... It's not even just the Browns. It's only the Browns now because they're the most obvious.
Yeah, they're stopping. There's an Irish person, Canadians. I mean, British. There's a British dude, Australian.
There's some German people too.
German people too. Yeah, they're fucking. They're going full on fucking.
Every episode is somebody's first episode, so that's on top of the immigration lawyer who got the email saying it's time for you to leave. Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch more though, man. There's so many stories, man. I mean, I hate the fact that everybody keeps saying, "Oh, you liberals just want the criminals." You know what? The government, and here's what they did: the White House, man. The fucking White House put up this thing. If anybody's seen it, it's so trashy. What they did around the White House, they started putting up a whole bunch of signs. Waste, fraud, and abuse. They spent tens of thousands of dollars on corrugated signs. And they surrounded the White House with all these signs of supposed criminals saying all these people deported, accused of whatever. Deported, a picture of the person, accused of whatever. It's a whole bunch of immigrants, a whole bunch of brown people.
They put these up at the White House?
Yeah, surrounding the White House. They surrounded a sign of signs.
How is that legal?
It's the White House. They can put up whatever they want, I guess. They paid for the signs. They wanted to put the signs up. I mean, but yeah.
I think you can just I don't think you can say someone is accused of a crime publicly like that
You can always
unless
say someone is accused of a crime.
Unless you've actually accused them of a crime.
They are. See, here's a here. I'll put the image in here.
Put the link in the Notion somewhere.
There's a picture.
What in the world?
Oh, there's a video. Actually, here's a link to the video. But yeah, it's just a whole bunch of things. Arrested. They were all arrested, folks. All these people were arrested. And now, granted, probably, I would hope that they did some better vetting on this than they have on the people they've actually deported.
I would be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked, but
I would be shocked because they are not acting like an organization that cares about
the truth
or justice or following the law or anything that inconveniences them. You have Donald Trump out there saying, like, we don't have time to try all these people in court. It would take literally 200 years.
Yeah, but then this right here, they put up a lineup poster for 100 of the worst illegal immigrant criminals, right? I would assume, I would hope, I would think somebody with half a brain, if you're going to selectively choose 100 people to put on a sign and do this, you are going to select 100 people who you know that the media is not going to rush to defend. So it could be your story. See, all these people we're kicking out. Look at these bad people. Sure, there's 100 people. And you know what? We've deported thousands and thousands. I'm sure there's 100 bad ones. You know what I mean? What's more... But it doesn't matter, man. Sure, they get arrested. Fucking big, cool, good. Arrest the bad ones. But we've sent hundreds of innocent people to be tortured, and locked up, and we're taking their kids,
or even just like,
horrible.
even aside from like the humanitarian evil, okay? Let's like look at it from a completely different way that it's fucking us. Okay? Like, aside from that, like, they're humans who deserve to be treated like humans, right? They're also like people who we want to come to our schools and pay our schools tuition and participate in research at our schools to invent new products and then to file patents and then to start businesses.
This administration doesn't want that. They want isolationism. They want all the student visas gone. They want to kick out all the foreign kids that pay full price tuition and don't get any deals on tuition that make it cheaper for Americans. They want them out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is like, even aside from it being like, horrible, like morally, it is like cut off your nose to spite your face, like just dumb. Like, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
And even when you're
huge tariffs on Taiwan when you import all of your computer shit from them. I mean, like,
James, they're not buying stuff from us, okay? They're not buying Trump steaks. They're not buying the art of the deal. They're not buying
what they're not buying. They're not buying meme coins. They're not buying Trump and Melania meme coins. That's why.
But correct me on what the country was. But I think it was Vietnam that signed a deal for $1.5 billion for a Trump resort in their country, and then there was something else. They like spent like $300 million on something. Yeah. They just like bribed the fuck out of them.
Yeah,
it was Vietnam.
It's Vietnam. Yeah, hundreds of billions of dollars in golf courses, hotels, and real estates. Yeah, that's what they're going to give them. They know that. Oh, and that's why we're okay. Cool. Tariffs going to go away on them, man. They're going to give me a golf course. Going to give me this stuff, and Yeah, that's why like last week they were talking about like Moscow. Like the one thing Russia wants to do is like they want to get all the sanctions dropped. They want to go ahead and give them, they want to give them, a Trump hotel in Moscow. I mean, his meme coin. Everybody's got to think a little bit too. Like, I mean, come on, we were crypto. Actually, Gabe here is the one who kind of got me in the crypto. We talked about it fucking a long time ago when Facebook was new. And I was like, man, that sounds cool. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it'll be too real practical. I don't know. But at the same time, I was poor back then anyway. Looking back, man, I wish I would have thrown in $50 in Bitcoin way back when we first started talking about it. Would have been a billionaire right now, or millionaire. Anyway, but whatever. We've gotten rid of all the regulatory stuff on crypto. He's pardoning everybody, all the people who were in jail for crypto fraud. Literally, he just got another, what was it, a $75 million bribe for his last pardon? The last crypto guy he pardoned?
Oh, and then they like decided to not, the crypto shit is even worse. Like, 'cause then they decided not to pursue any white collar crime.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
they're not even investigating.
The Justice Department no longer looks into cybersecurity against Russia. They no longer investigate any kind of crypto crimes. They don't do any white collar crime. Who was it? BitMEX? Was that one? Oh yeah, the 3 more people. Yeah, got 3 more people after how much they'd give them? Oh God, was it $75 million? Somebody just gave them $75 million to get their pardon.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know who it was, but
can't remember. Yeah, he's making millions and millions of dollars on the pardon. It's not much different than all the law firms who are doing the bribery, because that's what he does. Trump's like found his money making schemes. I can make my meme coin. Any country, any rogue actor, anybody who wants to bribe me, they can just buy my meme coin, man. Oh, buy $150 million worth of Trump coins. Cool. Here you go.
So here's the thing with the meme coin, right? It was like if you got in before it went public, you had to keep it for like 90 days or something. You had like a certain amount of time you had to keep it, okay, before you could sell it. And right before that deadline came up, because like people who bought in were like, okay, yeah, this is a meme coin, like he's gonna sell it and the value is gonna tank, like I want to sell and get out. Right before that deadline came up, he announced that there was going to be a dinner with the top people who owned the most of the meme coin. It was like the top 100 people who owned the most of Trump meme coin were going to get to come to a dinner and meet him and blah blah blah, so that it would hold the value and all these people wouldn't sell. So they would in fact buy more to try to push the value up when he can sell it. And then, like, Scott Galloway has made this point. I'm going to try to recreate it, but I'll probably put a link to a better version of him making it. But basically, with Trump's meme coin, if you're Putin, you can just go, okay, so you have this meme coin, it's worth this much, and you have 80% of it. So you just call Trump up and you're like, dude, here's the deal. I'm gonna take like $200 billion and I'm gonna plug it into the meme coin. I'm gonna pump the meme coin. I'm gonna keep it pumped up for 8 years. Okay, you're gonna be fucking super rich. You're gonna be obscenely rich because it's gonna go to the fucking moon. It's gonna have a giant market cap. It's gonna be worth $1 trillion, and you're gonna be the richest man in the world.
Because you own 65-70% of it.
He owns 80% of it.
80%.
He owns, because you own 80% of it.
And they were mad at Hawk Tuah girls for owning 70 or 60 something. But yeah.
Yeah, it was like I'm gonna boost your coin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use Russia's money that you're gonna undo from the sanctions, and here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna give us Ukraine. You're not even gonna give us Ukraine. You're just gonna completely stop helping Ukraine. You're gonna take the sanctions off, which frees me up to buy your coin, and no one's even gonna know. No one's gonna know. You're just gonna be super fucking rich, and the coin's gonna be kicking ass and taking names, and no one will be none the wiser. Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And think about it this way. Any kind of deals with countries are expensive and tedious and, complicated, right? It's a lot easier just to say, hey, get your boss on the phone. Hey, buddy, let's just drop all this shit. How about this? You want a Trump Tower, and we want no tariffs. How about this? You get your Trump Tower, and I'll just give you $250 million. Cool. I'll buy the meme coins now. Click. Done. Then the U.S. hasn't do anything. They don't have to do anything. It's just corrupt. It's just corruption. It is just blatant corruption, and they're so obvious about it. It's why all of these crypto people are getting pardons. They're dropping investigations. There's another one. A Chinese guy was something Sun. There's another one. They had a huge. The government was going after him. He gave like a donation or something. He put in like $75 or $50 million into one of the Trump current coin crypto things, and then lo and behold, right after that happened, the Justice Department dropped all the charges. I mean,
Here, I found a CNN article that's got the guy with the 75 million.
Which
a
one is
crypto
it?
mogul who invested millions into Trump coins is getting a reprieve on civil fraud charges. This is CNN.com.
There's so many more. There's a whole bunch of them. It's not just one. I'm trying to find the other articles. There was another page I saw. It had a list of a whole bunch of them. It's a ton of people.
This is a guy's son. Something son.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of them here.
Justin Sun, a 34-year-old Chinese crypto entrepreneur.
Here's another one.
Asked a federal judge to put the agency's case on hold, citing the
$75 million
interests of both sides in the public's interest.
World Liberty, which is the Trump crypto project. You know what I mean? $75 million. Yeah, there you go. He gave $75 million into the Trump meme coin stuff, and boom. And then the SEC, they said, okay, we're going to stop our fraud case. And his other companies. And then he gave the pardons to all the other ones who were giving him money. He's just selling pardons left and right, man. I want to like a site. I want us to do this, actually. Let's try and do this. Let's try and get all the Trump pardons and try to match it up with all the
links
donations.
To like the donations.
All the donations they made him. Because I would not be surprised if he's already made $1 billion in just pardons and bribes. Bribes for pardons.
It actually wouldn't be that hard to find a list of the pardons and then to look up those people and see.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the reporting's already out there.
Yeah, exactly. But somebody needs to just list all the people who got pardons and how much they gave Trump. And just keep it right there and then just put in an Excel sheet and just do a fucking sum at the bottom.
On the topic of a website like that, the thing that I keep forgetting to put on the list to talk about is the Project 2025 website. So there's a website that takes that's basically like how much of Project 2025 has Trump already done, and it's an alarmingly large percent. It's like 25 or 40%.
Yeah, I thought it was like 30 or 40. Yeah, but yeah, it's a lot in 3 months. I remember when it first started happening, we were talking about how long did it take, the Nazis
53 days.
53 days. Now, they're slower than the Nazis. Good. They're much more incompetent than the Nazis were. But shit, man. It didn't start with camps people. It started with deportations. It started with demonizing people and deportations.
Okay, so it's project2025.observer.
Yeah.
And so there are 312 total proposals. 97 are done. 62 are in progress. It's 41% complete. And also nice on their website, they have time until end of term, 1,359 days, 17 hours, 4 minutes, and 876 seconds, and so on.
Yeah. All right. So we got about half an hour left here. Do we want to talk about Ukraine, the mineral deal?
Yeah, let's talk about the mineral deal. My first thought when I heard that there was a mineral deal, like, my wife was like, "Oh, hey, they signed a deal. Like, there's a little blah blah blah." She read like a paragraph or something about it. So I didn't have much to go on, and I was like, "Sounds like a huge nothing burger. Sounds like blowing a whole lot of smoke up in the air to say you did something, so you can declare victory without having to actually do anything." And having read the details, I still think it's pretty much that. Like, I still think this is not. So here's the thing. This deal, like, we can get into the details in a minute, but like, this deal is reliant on
the US
there being a Ukraine that owns the area where the minerals are, and that is secure enough to take investment and then use that investment to build something that then results in a profit. All of those things have to happen in order for this deal to mean fuck all. Okay? And there's nothing in there about any security deals or security guarantees. There's nothing in there about like, okay, we'll sell you some Patriots so that you can, defend your children's schools and nursing homes and like apartment buildings from Putin, who's just trying to genocide all of the people as quickly as he can before he's fucking out of rockets. Like, I don't know. Does it make it? What difference does it make? It doesn't seem like it's going to make any difference.
Well, what do you mean? What difference will make? Well, there's a couple things. Here's the thing.
Let me go into the details of it.
The thing that makes it suck is this: the U.S. could walk away at any time, right? That's the one part. There's no security guarantees, no concrete security guarantees in the U.S., right? And yes, it means that there has to be a Ukraine down the road. I mean, they have to have the Ukraine, right?
And like the place where the minerals are is where Russia has captured.
Not all of it, but
not all of it, but a lot of it's like it's right next to it. It's like Donetsk.
Donetsk. That area is fucking rich in minerals, But here's a couple things though. One, right? And actually, there was some stuff here. What was the stuff that they said about Russia in there? They said there was something they said in there. There was some language in there. I know that sometimes language is just language, and the fact that they said Russia's, what is it, the tougher language about it, the Russia's full-scale invasion. They did say, though, and the U.S. the Treasury Department did add in there, they said no state or person who financed or supplied the Russian war machine would be allowed to benefit from the reconstruction of Ukraine, right? So, that's going to freeze out China from ever having anything to do with it, and it would freeze out Russia if they stuck to it. You know what I mean? So
no state or person who helped Russia through the war.
But like China's been fucking keeping Russia afloat for a year and a half, 2 years now on this thing. You know what I mean? So China's getting frozen out. Russia has some tough talk against Russia, right? But here's the thing. Yes, the U.S. has to commit to it, and yes, it doesn't give security guarantees. But if anybody actually gave a shit about the country, and I don't think Trump does, but I don't think Trump gives a shit anyway. Trump cares about Trump. What Trump gets out of it is he's like, we got the minerals deal. Oh my God.
Exactly.
We're making the deal. We're going to get rich off this. We're not just giving shit away. We're going to get rich. Okay, fine. He gets his PR win. Okay.
He's going to yell, but like he didn't solve the war. He said he was going to stop the war on day one.
No, but everybody knows already that Russia's not going to stop the war. We give them everything we think is imaginable, like the best case scenario. All right, you take everything you've taken. They'll give you the rest of Kursk that they've taken. We will recognize you own this. They can't join the NATO. They can't do any of this. Blah, blah, blah. Will you take peace now? And Russia goes, no. Right? You can't exactly. I mean, like you lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink, right? Trump is a total fucking bitch to Putin, but at some point, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, he's gonna treat you, he's gonna punish you, even if you are good. You know what I mean? He's gonna spank you, whether you want him to or whether he doesn't want you to. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's not gonna be enough. You know what I mean? So we know that Russia's not gonna stop the war. We also know that Europe's not just gonna roll over and let them win the war. If he has half of a brain, he has to think, all right, I'll get my PR win for this. Okay, I tried with this, right? Worst case scenario, Ukraine stays around, right? America stands to benefit a shitload from this down the road, right? But the deal is...
America benefits from the war in Ukraine. Like, the longer it goes, the better it is for us, because we're costing Russia...
Well, yeah,
$500K to $1 billion a day, and manpower and showing that their military is shit. Like,
Yeah,
there
but
is no better way to like shit all over their military.
yeah, but that's just military. That's just, I mean, yes, that's having them hurt their military, but at the same time, though, we're making their military better too. At the same time, we're wearing them down. They're losing people. They are getting experience that is God. Against a NATO trained force, Russia would have militarily, they suck, right? Weapons wise, tanks wise, they suck. But as Ukraine is proving, you don't even need that. Tanks aren't involved much at all anymore, right? They don't need tanks.
Because drones eliminate
They
tanks.
have whole robot armies, man. They had their fucking robot army clear out trenches of Russians. The Russians didn't know what the fuck to do. There was no people to shoot. They had land drones, air drones, combined arm warfare of all drones took positions from the Russians. That's the future of warfare. A lot less people. They have drone operators, a few people scattered here and there all over the place to do drones. It's drones, man. And Russia's learning that, you know? And they're learning that you don't need the biggest, baddest military to wreck another country, you know? So, yeah, we're hurting them militarily, we're hurting them economically, but at the same time, they are getting a great benefit from this war. China is getting a great benefit. North Korea is benefiting immensely from this deal. Oh my God, they have more nukes. But what I'm saying is this. Let's get away from that, though. The deal is good for the United States, and it is good for Ukraine. Because there's going to be an end to the war. There's going to be an end to the war, right? And Russia, I mean, they're on pace to take Kyiv in 80 more years at the rate of advancement. At least 80 years at their current rate. They're not going to win. I think everybody recognizes they're not going to win the war, right? So there is going to be reinvestment in Ukraine, man. Companies are going to want to come in, right? And if we have a deal on the table that says, hey, invest over there, start doing the stuff, get all this going, right? It's like with Poland and Lithuania and Estonia and all these other countries. When they joined the EU and they started doing things with the West and they built up their economies, oh my God, it's the explosion of wealth. You know what I mean? It makes so much more money trading with them after they've built up their economy. And if in the US, we have it, and there was like a 50-50 fucking profit sharing deal with them, with all these, oil, gas, all the lithium and fucking titanium and all these precious metals, that we get from China. Well, we were getting them from China. Now you have a way to get them basically for free, hand over fist profit from Ukraine, So the fact that there is a minerals deal is incentive to keep them alive and keep them armed. And, there is that.
It gives us some skin in the game.
It does give you skin in the game. Now, but the thing for Ukraine is it's great is they have, like, with this deal, it's for the first 10 years, all of the profits are reinvested in Ukraine. And if the war, say, was to end, it doesn't matter. Today, next year, whatever, okay? The war ends. For 10 full years afterwards, right? All the riches, all the stuff here, all the trade, all the U.S. companies going in there, all these other things going in there, all of it gets reinvested in Ukraine. Ukraine will fucking be a powerhouse. And Europe needs Ukraine to be a powerhouse because they have already realized, shit, man, Ukraine is like the biggest army here, baddest army here in Europe. They're the thing keeping Russia from expanding and taking back everything they want to take. There's a lot of interest in keeping Ukraine going. And if they get a deal where for 10 years, all these companies come in there, and they all get it reinvested in Ukraine, Ukraine will be in an explosion of growth, man. Even if they are giving up half of their profits for a long ass time, to the United States afterwards, half of what they will be, right? With 10 years of gangbusters growth, you know what I mean? It's kind of worth being able to get there.
Yeah, but what's going to keep Russia out for 10 years?
Well, hopefully a shitload more Patriots, hopefully a shitload more drones, hopefully a shitload more Taurus missiles, hopefully a lot more intelligence stuff, and oil and gas sanctions and everything else, and Russia not being able to afford to keep paying out the tons and tons and tons of money that they are having to do to get people to fight. They're bankrupting themselves. Their inflation is out of fucking control, man. They are not going here. Their government basically collapsed after Afghanistan when they blew a whole bunch of money in 10 years in Afghanistan, right? And they only lost, what would they lose, like 100,000 people or 10,000 people, 20,000 people? Something small, right? Over the course. It was a lot of money spent and a big embarrassment, right? They've already lost almost 1 million people. They've already lost like 950,000 people, and they're paying just insane amounts of money to people to go there. They've already cleared out their prisons.
Even less than that, 15,000 fatalities and 15,000 fatalities and 38,000 casualties, including wounded and missing.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I googled it. Russian losses in Afghanistan during the Soviet-Afghan War.
In Afghanistan. Okay,
Soviet Union suffered an estimated 15,000 fatalities and 38,000 casualties, including wounded and missing.
But yeah, I thought you were talking about Ukraine. I'm like, 15,000? Are you smoking something?
No, but they also lost 450. 451 total aircraft, 333 helicopters, 147 tanks.
Yeah, Ukraine is fucking blown this out of the water. That's
nothing compared to the amount of planes, boats, tanks, men, everything that they've lost in Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, they fucking just about cleared out the entire Soviet fleet of old tanks. I mean, damn, right? So they can't keep going. They cannot keep going. There's all kinds of British intelligence and all the intelligence services like, dude, I don't think they can keep going past like maybe June 2026. I don't see how it's possible. Some people are saying earlier. Some people are saying one more year. They're going to have to tap out. They just won't be able to keep this going, you know? And so Ukraine just needs to keep doing what Ukraine's doing. And yeah, I think their government will collapse. I think Russia's government will collapse, kind of like it did in the Soviet Union. You know what I mean? That's what I think is going to happen. And I think when their government collapses, and I think, just like fall Soviet Union.
How is that going to happen? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean by it? What do you mean? I guess first of all, like, what do you mean by their government's going to collapse? Like, what does that look like?
Okay, it looks like 1991. Look at like the Soviet Union was collapsing. Look at Moscow when it was collapsing. When people finally got tired of fucking hours-long lines for bread and for whatever else, and nobody had anything, and the country was bankrupt because they couldn't afford anything. Nobody could afford anything. The economy was shit. They lost a war. Once you lose a war, your whole tough guy image of the military kind of loses a little bit of its fear because you've already showed that you lost. You know what I mean? The military is going to be done. The military, you lose when your military and people don't want to shoot the people, and the people have had enough and they can't take it anymore, and they go out there in mass, and the cops and military aren't going to shoot them all. And the Russian military is whatever's left of them. I mean, after this, and they finally if they lose and have to pull back out of Ukraine because they just can't keep it up anymore, and the people start rioting because shit, man, everybody in Moscow, when they start going back to bread lines and shit like that, and they can't afford anything, man, they're going to turn. Eventually, it will turn, and then nobody's happy. The rich oligarch people aren't exactly happy because they're getting sanctioned the fuck out of them. Things aren't worth anything. Their value of their monies goes down. The people who are getting paid to be like cops and police stuff and military, they're not going to want to shoot on people because they're going to be fucking tired of it too. And when the military won't shoot the people and round them all up and save the dictator because they're also tired of how shitty life has gotten, it's done. They take them out. Boom. Just like this, that's it. They fly off. Putin would fly off to fucking North Korea or some other place. You know what I mean? And that's it. The place collapses. And when that happens, and the people are all happy, hey, we got rid of Putin finally. Hey, there'll be a brief, 30-day celebration thinking they're going to be free for a while, And when that happens, Ukraine will get their territory back. You know what I mean? The people who just want to kick out Putin are going to be like, hey, you got...
I don't see it.
I do. I do see it. I see it. they're.
I mean, dude, these are like in a sane population that
or
could
one
be
of
a
the other
thing.
things are going to happen, or something else is going to happen, or the other rich oligarchs are going to be like, we need to fucking end this, man. We're losing our ass in this war. Fucking old man Pooty over here is fucking everything up. I want to go back to my yacht and my 18-year-old girl in France, take a vacation. I'm tired of this shit, man. I've lost $15 billion already in this fucking Ukraine war. Hey guys, let's fucking slip some polonium in his drink. You know what I mean? That could happen. That could happen. And then just
That
Putin
could happen.
mysteriously dies. And you know what? Maybe they make a deal. Hey, maybe they make a little deal with the Ukrainian secret intelligence, secret service, or secret, secret intelligence, I guess, services, right?
I think it's
Maybe they make a
USB.
deal. Yeah, whatever. Or GRU, whatever.
That's Russian.
GRU.
Yes.
GRU Ukraine, is it? No, it's GRU. Yeah, it's the main directorate of the intelligence for Ukraine. The GRU. Wait, the GRU is Russia's.
Yes.
What is the one for Ukraine?
It's Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, FISU.
The GUR. Okay.
There's also the Security Services of Ukraine,
whatever,
which
yeah,
is
the main director
similar
of
to the
intelligence administration
CIA.
is
That's the
GUR.
SSU.
Yeah, and then they have the GUR. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Say they talk to them. Say Ukraine's intelligence. They get a man on the inside. They take out Putin. All right, hey, we'll take out Putin. You could be the next leader of Russia. You're gonna pull out of Ukraine, right? Cool. All right, we'll help knock him off. Boom. Maybe you get new president. That could happen. There's a lot of ways it could happen, but I think it's going to happen because Russia's economy is so fucked. You know what I mean? And they can't keep it up. They can't afford to keep.
I don't know that it's so fucked.
They can't afford to keep paying the people. I mean, they're paying out the ass, and their inflation is just going skyrocketing as a result of it. The prices keep going up, right? They can't control inflation because they won't let their interest rates go any higher. Putin won't let their interest rates go any higher. They are paying so much money just to keep recruiting enough so they can keep bringing in like 30,000 people a month to replace the 30 to 35,000 a month they're losing. And they have to keep paying more every month because they get less recruits. There was a couple of months in a row where they're only recruiting like 15, 20,000. So they had to really increase the amount of money they're paying to keep people willing to throw their life away to die in the war.
Okay, let me give you a less optimistic what could happen between Russia and Ukraine. Yeah. Okay, because a rat in a trap will gnaw its own leg off to escape. And if Russia is anything, they are a rat. And you back them into a corner, they are a rat with thousands of nukes. And they have been trying for over 100 years at this point to kill the people of Ukraine because they don't like them.
Some of them have been. Putin has been, his military, people like that, and yes, the
Russia and the Soviets, there's a long history. There's a long history of it. Goes way, way, way the fuck back.
Obviously, yes.
Okay. And you got to remember, okay, these are people who there are many recordings of wives calling their husbands who are fighting in Ukraine and telling them that it's okay for them to rape the Ukrainian women.
Yeah, they're allowed to rape any woman they want if they're military. They don't give a shit. They just want people to fight. Yeah.
Yes, but the wives are calling them up and condoning it.
I know.
No gun to their head, no consequence. They're just expressing that they're fine with it because they don't think of them as people.
I'm with you. So far, I'm with you 100%. I don't think it's going to go nuke. So you're thinking they'll just nuke them.
What I think is way more likely is that Putin says, okay, we want to end the war in Ukraine. We can't keep throwing bodies at it. We can't blah blah blah. If I can't have it, no one can, and he fucking nukes it. Maybe he doesn't nuke the whole country, but I bet he starts dropping nukes. And he says, okay, you know what? I'm down to my last however many guys, my last political capital, but I still got nukes. So I'm going to start nuking cities. I'm going to nuke Kyiv. You gonna give up Ukraine? No? Okay, I'm going to nuke Dnipro. You giving up now? No? Okay, I can keep doing this all day. I got thousands of fucking nukes. When are you going to say, Uncle, I'll nuke the whole fucking country? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't think
This
that's
is
gonna
the
happen.
evil bastards that they are, dude.
No.
I think before Russia just gives up and fucks off to North Korea,
Yeah.
I think they drop a nuke.
No, I don't think that's happening. That won't happen. That won't happen. No. I really don't believe that'll happen. There's a big difference between raping, killing, murdering, maiming, electrocuting, torturing, skinning alive, kidnapping children, doing all kinds of atrocities and things like that to the people that you feel are lesser than you. Awful things, all of it. That's quite a different thing from firing off a nuke and making sure that every other country is going to be like, oh fuck no, they did the fucking nuke. China will walk away. They might have nukes coming their way. They would have radioactive clouds coming their way. Their radioactive clouds going over Europe. Europe would want to start nuking. There would be the response.
No, when you use nukes now, there's no radioactive cloud. There's no fallout.
That's not true. That's not true. There is. Why did you say there's not?
It depends on the nukes.
There's always going to be a radioactive cloud. There's always going to be that radioactive cloud. The radiation's going to go around. That doesn't matter. There's low yield tactical nukes. They call them tactical nukes, which means there's a lower warhead. There's always going to be the radiation going up there. And it would go to NATO, and if they did that, they would get their shit blown up. They fucking everybody. NATO would view that as an act of war on them. Everybody's going to go off there. China would leave them behind. China's already... That's why they stopped even talking on the nuclear talk. You know, Putin was all talk about nukes for like a year and a half. Oh, if you're going to escalate NATO, we're good. You're inviting nuclear war. Our nuclear war. We'll do this. They put nukes in Belarus. They started talking nukes. And even China was like, dude, you can't keep doing the nuclear saber rattling, man. You keep talking nukes, man. We're out. We can't help you with that, man. We want people to think we're okay, and we'll support you with all the golf carts you want and all the military stuff and your Kevlar, and we'll give you hunting rifles, and we'll give you all the, whatever, you know, the hunting rifles. They're giving them all the weapons. They're giving them all this shit, right? But they're like, we can't trade with you if you do that, because nobody would trade with us. Right now, China's okay with America doing the tariffs. Hey, fuck you, America. We'll just trade with Europe again. If Russia does nukes and China's helping Russia, China's going to be cut off by everybody. They will be a total fucking pariah, worse than North Korea is, like to the level of North Korea or worse. They would have nothing if they did that. And they know that. And that's why Putin will never do that. And honestly, there's been times before when there were orders to fire off nukes. And you know what? And every time that stuff has happened, and Russia has happened more times than Americans want to realize or people even know about, they've been ordered to launch nukes before. There was the 80s.
You're talking about there was like the one guy who prevented World War III.
Like, nope.
The automated.
Wait, is there confirmation? I don't believe this shit. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? I think they killed him.
They court-martialed him.
Yeah, they court-martialed him and killed him. But you know what? He prevented nuclear holocaust. There's something about nukes that everybody knows. That's a line that is not reserved for, hey, you know what? Damn it, we can't kill all the Ukrainians after all. They fucking kicked our ass here for years and we can't take them out. Fuck. Let's nuke them. No, nukes are a little different. Everybody in the world knows it. Putin knows it. He'll saber rattle. He'll threaten. He's never going to do it. Everybody knows he's not going to do it, which is why the escalation has gotten, you know, where, hey, we're going to give them tanks. We're going to give Ukraine this. Everybody was scared about it, and like Trump and Elon Musk keep acting like, oh, they got nukes, we can't do this. You're inviting World War III. It's because Putin, for as evil as he is, he's not stupid. He's not going to use it. They're not going to use the nukes. Not going to do it. And once people realize he's not going to do it, because he's not going to do it, there's no reason to really fear Russia.
I don't agree. I would love to have that optimism, but
I don't think it's optimism. It's just that people love themselves. If Putin,
let me ask you this:
he ordered them to shoot off a nuke, he would be assassinated. He would be gone. He couldn't go anywhere.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, you think Hitler is sitting in the bunker We're not even to the bunker, right? Because we don't even get to the bunker. They're 30 miles out from the bunker,
Hmm.
and Hitler has nukes.
Yeah.
You think he's not going to launch them?
First of all, that's Hitler. Hitler saying they're 30 miles from the bunker. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Russia invading Ukraine. We're not talking about NATO rushing in there being 30 miles from the Kremlin. And that's the situation. Yeah, they'd probably fire off nukes. They're not even talking about that. There's no threat to Putin. There's no threat
The
to
thing
Putin
that
right
you're
now.
talking about is that like the people are rising up in the streets, and he's
That's a different thing
he's in
altogether.
danger of assassination,
That's
or
different
like
altogether. That's different
has no
altogether.
political
That's
capital.
internal. That's internal. That's coming from internal. That's coming from internal. That would be his own people getting mad, his own economy going bad. That's not,
James, like
Russia is threatened.
that's like saying here's what that is like saying, okay?
So you're thinking his hatred
That's like
for
saying that
Ukraine.
like Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth are going to save us from Donald Trump after Donald Trump has been in power for 30 fucking years. Really? You think so? You think after 30 years Trump wouldn't have killed, 30 years of murdering all the dissidents and consolidating power and only having sycophants? Like that's the situation in Russia.
No, because you're misunderstanding their politics. It's not Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth. It would be more like Elon Musk, whoever's running ExxonMobil, and whoever's running like the people in Apple and fucking them deciding to take out Putin, because they don't run their country. I'm not talking about Gerasimov and Shoigu and his little underlings, right? I'm talking about the real people who have all the money in Russia. That's who I'm talking about taking him out. Not his underlings, not the Pete Hegseths or the Pam Bondis. They run it like a mob operation. Russia is like a mobster operation. His people that work for him and do the little generals and things like that, yes, some of them, they make their money too, but it's like a corporate mob enterprise where they all have their own big pot, their own big things that they do, and they just have to they all give Putin a cut. It's more like a mob. It'd be like a mob boss who started a war with another huge mob. It'd be like the head of the Irish mob starting a war with the head of the Italian mob. You know what I mean? And then and everybody's getting fighting, and then all the people in the Italian mob, some of the other like lieutenants and other people around the other place are like, hey dude, let's just fucking kill Vinny over here. We can end this war.
It's like they decided to kill Tony Soprano.
Yeah, it'd be more like that. I'm not, and it wouldn't be Christopher in your Tony Soprano scenario. It wouldn't be Christopher and fucking, Pussy and, it wouldn't be them killing him. It would be some of the other mob bosses. It'd be the Carmine and the other guys who would whack him. That's what I'm saying. And the Russia scenario is more like that.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look more. I guess I don't know enough about it, but I think he's got too tight of a hold on it for that to be a real threat.
Yeah, everybody thinks that until it doesn't happen. That's the thing. That's the one wonderful thing about autocracies and dictatorships. Everybody thinks they're never gonna fucking lose power, and when it does, and every time it has happened, it happens so fucking fast.
Like Saddam or Assad.
Or the Soviet Union. Fucking Soviet Union fell apart. Like, it crumbled, man. Like, I mean, it fucking crumbled quick, man. When it fucking happened, it happened quick. At first, there was like this big old thing where there were protests and there was about to be a coup. They tried to kill him, but they didn't kill him. But, all the people out there, and then he got power again, and then he's trying to put down some of the stuff like, hey, all right, we got to put this up. I mean, no one's like, fucking, man, we're not shooting anybody, man.
Putin came up in that. Like, Putin learned from all of that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They all play the same playbook. A dictator's a dictator, man. They all have the same playbook. Almost every single dictator, everywhere, every time, it's almost always the same playbook. There's minor variations of character and stuff like that, but it's all the same. And it all falls apart very quickly, very suddenly, and it always happens, usually the same reason why they come into power in the first place. Bunch of economic instability. The economy goes to shit. People are in such bad shape, they lose they got nothing to lose, man. And then they go there. That's the whole deal with autocracies. The deal is you have no rights, but you'll live all right. And you'll have the money. You can have this stuff. When everything else part of that contract goes away, because there's always an implicit contract with autocracies. Government's the state. We run everything. but you don't have to worry because we're going to keep you safe and you will prosper. As long as you don't try to say anything or have any rights, we will prosper. Like China, you know what I mean? You know, it's the same thing. Same thing everywhere. When it goes to, when you have a government where everybody has nothing and they're used to having more, maybe not North Korea, because they'd have nothing anyway. They have generations of now of nothing, right? It's like a despot. But if you take a place like Russia, Moscow, St. Petersburg, you know, big cities, places where they're affluent, they got fucking cell phones and
most
shit.
people in Russia don't live in the cities. The cities are the places where
Yes.
it's more like life, but most people don't live like that.
And that's where it all matters. Because the poor people spread out all through Siberia and the Far East, the poor, like, you know, people in the mountainous regions down, you know, in
It seems like they've been living like that. They've been living like that since the Soviet Union.
Forever. Yeah, they've been living like that forever. Exactly. But the people in Moscow, people in St. Petersburg, the rich, well-to-do people who are used to being like fucking, you know, well-to-do society, when they all have to wait in line for 2 hours for fucking food, and
that never happens.
The
1% never has to wait.
That's not going to happen.
Here's all you think. I'll give you a what could go right. What could go right is that the Democrats between now and 2028 could find their footing and get unified around a small number of very strong candidates. And the Democrats could do the other role that no one talks about that Trump did. Okay, we talk a lot about how people are stupid and then the voters are dumb and they're voting against their interests and they're voting for Trump and they're believing him and they're not fact checking all this stuff, right? But Trump came to these uneducated people and he taught them. He taught them a lie. He taught them an abject falsehood. He taught them a complete break from reality, but he taught them. He taught them a version of the world and they believed it. And if the Democrats can get on message and get behind a single person, ideally, or a small number of people, and they can stay on message, kind of like what we said in our What the Democrats Need to Do podcast episode, that could work. Because I think there's enough unrest here in America, like we're fed up enough with just what's happening now that, you know, all it's going to take is somebody with a good common sense message and a plan to get us out of this shit show, and everybody unifying behind them without infighting and bullshit. Like that could work. So that's my what could go right.
I'm gonna say my what could go right. My what could go right. Putin wants to have a handful of days of a ceasefire, and he might mean it this time because he's worried about his Victory Day celebration getting bombed by Ukrainian drones and everything else, and, you know, that happening. So what could go right during that little ceasefire? Maybe that would be a time for some of his people who really want to have that ceasefire last. And maybe during the 2025 Victory Day, one of his own takes out Putin.
But I don't think it's just Putin. I don't think it's Putin's war. I think it's like the top, 20 dudes all together all want the war.
They just want to make money, man, and get rich. They don't like anybody. They don't like Ukrainians. They think whatever, they probably
were
think they're
rich.
lesser
They
than
were
humans.
rich before.
They were a lot less rich now. They're all a lot less rich now. I'm just hoping that somebody's gonna take out Putin, man. He ain't fucking gonna live forever.
That's I would love.
Right.
He's not gonna live forever. I would love nothing more than to see him drowned in a pile of shit.
That's my what could go right. Ceasefire for a week, and during that week, in Victory Day, somebody plants a bomb there. Putin bites it. New leadership in Russia. That's my what could go right.
I want him to whatever. I want it to be more horrific and drawn out. But sure.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
All right. We can continue with Crackdown on Free Speech and Billy Long IRS pick later, or we can just tell everybody, if there's something you want to say about the Crackdown on Free Speech before we go.
No, we could come back to it if you got time on Saturday, or we can just get into it next week. There will only be more free speech crackdown on between now and then.
They're not stopping. This administration's not stopping. That's right.
Yeah. So, all right. Good night and good luck.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Gabe.